Wow, it's Labor Day weekend, and we have made it to 22 of Learning Love. We're just going to keep going until we get through all of them. I'm sitting at the campground, thus the trees behind me. And you know what? It's perfect here this weekend. It's just right. Okay, we've been talking about significance. We've been talking about feeling invisible. And for 22, we're going to kind of dive into this feeling that invisibility is actually safer than being seen. So, in some cases, invisibility actually feels like a safer option than being open, honest, and vulnerable. Vulnerability gets you hurt. There have been too many people who have contributed to the damage in your heart, and therefore you retreat from human interaction. Built an impenetrable wall around your heart, and you have no plans to let anyone past it. Retreating as a way of coping with the scariness of life started early for me. Being one of the younger children in a large family contributed to the feelings of invisibility. As we were never singled out for anything positive, I was just one of the bunch, right? And our dad had a horrible habit of calling us every name but our own. He was also a big, scary guy who worked too much and never really wanted so many kids. When he did come home, staying out of the way was better than getting yelled at, or worse. So hiding felt calming and comforting to me. I would fit into the smallest spaces and I would just stay there. One of my favorite places was behind the piano. It had been pushed up against an unused door, and the doorway provided just enough space for me to sit in once I squeezed behind the piano. Later in my life, a therapist called it my flight or fight instinct. When life felt threatening, I chose flight every time. Even as an adult, it did not feel safe to me to open up to people. I felt if they really knew who I was inside, that they would reject me or judge me. This is in opposition to the other side of feeling invisible that cries to be known, to be recognized and valued. This side likes being ignored. I was the one who walked into church and preferred being able to slip into the pew, absorb what I could from the service, and slip out again before being cornered by someone who wanted to shake my hand, speak to me, or God forbid, to hug me. For me, church greeting time was torturous. Naturally, you have likely been in many situations that did not feel safe, and there are people who do not deserve your trust. As mentioned before, some of your reactions are valid responses that were necessary to keep you safe. In fact, your heart may have become so wounded that it is very bruised, and even the slightest touch inflicts fresh pain. But what usually happens is that you now have a conditioned response that is being applied mistakenly to new situations. It's unlikely the good folks at the corner church are intent on emotionally wounding you. If you find yourself overreacting to situations in this manner, retreating rather than interacting, even though it may be rooted in a very valid place, it is still a weedy lie that needs to be addressed. So the first step in addressing this lie is learning to establish appropriate boundaries in your relationships. If you seem to always allow people in your life who take advantage of you and who constantly seem to be crossing lines into areas that make you feel uncomfortable, you may have a boundary issue. Or maybe you are the one who overshares with people who have not yet earned a place of trust in your life. For learning how to establish good boundaries, we recommend the book Boundaries: When to Say Yes, How to Say No to Take Control of Your Life by Henry Cloud and John Townsend. Once you feel confident that you have the knowledge you need to establish appropriate boundaries with people, you will hopefully feel a little more confident interacting with them. But if that's not the case, we need to look at what retreating from even casual relationships is costing you and them. You see, you're looking at the situation only from the point of view of protecting your heart and keeping yourself safe. The lie is that protecting your heart is necessary and more important than what you have to offer to others, the skills you have to contribute, or what your care and concern would mean to them. It also is a mistaken belief that if you are more open with people, that you will continue to be hurt by them, judged, or criticized. Your heart needs to heal, and that takes time. But as it does, you need to begin stepping out and interacting in small ways. Try a smile, a handshake. And when you're ready, let that one woman who just has to hug everyone give you a squeeze. We're not meant to live in isolation. And it isn't emotionally healthy to be so inward focused. Many people long to be loved, but are so afraid they'll get hurt that they cut themselves off from others. They've been so conditioned to retreat that they don't really know healthy ways of interacting. I was one of those, always wrapped up in my own hurts to the point I was not showing concern to others. 1 Thessalonians 4, 9 and 10 tells us, "But we don't need to write to you about the importance of loving each other, for God himself has taught you to love one another. Indeed, you already show your love for all the believers throughout Macedonia. Even so, dear brothers and sisters, we urge you to love them even more." Obviously, loving each other is an important quality among Christians, and you have as much responsibility to show the love of God to others as they have to show it to you. The more you focus on your own woundedness, the less you have to give to others. It isn't always about you and your wounded heart. Other people have hurts and issues as well. Begin to think about how you can help and support others. Not to the point of not having anything left to care for yourself, but enough to begin having meaningful relationships. Okay, here's our processing. Forgive. Who do we need to forgive that have hurt us? And let me back that up. This says, "Father, I choose to forgive those that have hurt me and myself for being self-focused and not seeing the needs of others." Okay, so if I rephrase that, who do I need to forgive for hurting me? And then also I need to forgive myself for being self-focused and not seeing the needs of others. All right, rewind. My wounded heart is within the reach of God's love to heal. I need to invite God into my situations and hurts to begin healing my wounded heart. And rest. I do have something to offer, and I have a responsibility as a Christian to show love to others. And then respond. Think about another person you know with hurts and issues of their own. How could you show the love of Jesus to them? Think about writing them a note of encouragement, a phone call to ask how they are, or meeting them for a cup of coffee. Remember, this is a time to focus on them, not on yourself, and then record your interaction here. All right, we're making great progress. We'll be through the book soon. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Love you.